Want to break free from stress, rethink your life, and see the world in a completely new way? In the next few minutes, I'll show you how the Nalanda system of knowledge can transform your reality, not through theory, but through practical steps you can start using today. There's a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from textbooks or pre-built theories. It's born from deep personal experience and insight. This isn't just a mix of science, philosophy, or spirituality. It's a fusion that transcends all three. That's the Nalanda system, one of the boldest ideas about the nature of reality, the soul, and how we can transform as humans. Unlike traditional systems that draw hard lines between materialism and spirituality, or science and the divine, Nalanda brings it all together into one unified whole. He called this framework the two truths. First, the truth of the universe, which isn't just a physical description but includes the essence of matter, energy, information, and how they all move together. Second, the truth of awakening, not just a spiritual enlightenment, but a process where you discover your true self, rewire your perception, and break free from the limits of your mind. What makes Nalanda's approach stand out is that he saw knowledge as a living process, not a fixed system. He didn't claim his ideas were absolute truth. Instead, he insisted that knowledge must be experienced and tested by you. That's why his followers aren't asked to blindly believe. They're encouraged to verify everything through their own practice. So why can this system shift how you see the world? Because it doesn't just help you understand the external world, it helps you see through yourself. According to Nalanda, you're not just a biological machine programmed to react based on chemical responses in your brain. You're a form of information, a structure of consciousness operating on principles beyond what modern science can fully grasp. If you understand this nature, you can reprogram your perception, break free from old mental limits, and experience the world in a totally new way. There's a key idea in Nalanda's philosophy. Awakening isn't some mystical state reserved for saints or lifelong meditators. He believed awakening is a process you can start right now in your everyday life by shifting your perception and rewiring your thoughts. Awakening, in this sense, isn't a far-off dream. It's a practical journey anyone can take if they understand how it works. So if we're just a collection of molecules and consciousness is just electrical signals in the brain, why do we sometimes feel connected to something beyond our physical body? Why do we have experiences that science alone can't explain? And if we're just biological, where does consciousness even come from? In the Nalanda system, reality isn't just what you can see, touch, or measure with tools. It's not a fixed material world running on inevitable laws. Reality is a flow of information that can change. Everything exists not as static physical objects, but as tiny units of information in a constantly vibrating network. You're not just a physical being. You're a system of consciousness, where your awareness isn't a byproduct of your brain, but part of a larger field of information interacting with reality in ways we don't fully understand yet. So, what shapes how you perceive the world? Why does everyone experience reality differently? The answer lies in how your brain decodes reality. Nalanda taught that human consciousness isn't a fixed thing. It's an ongoing process of receiving, processing, and interpreting information from the world around you. When you look at an object, you're not really seeing the object, you're seeing the version your brain has processed. Everything you experience, sights, sounds, feelings, isn't the objective reality, but a model your mind creates to make sense of it. This means the world you live in isn't the real world. It's a personalized version of reality based on how you perceive it. From this perspective, your perception isn't just a tool to observe the world. It's the very thing that shapes your world. If you change how you see reality, the world you live in changes too. If you believe life is full of suffering, injustice, and chaos, that's all you'll see. But if you expand your perception, if you stop labeling the world with fixed definitions, you'll realize reality doesn't have meaning on its own. Meaning only exists when you give it one. So, if reality is just information, is consciousness just a process of handling that information? Nalanda argued that consciousness isn't a byproduct of the brain. It's an independent entity that exists beyond your physical structure. The brain doesn't create consciousness. It's just a tool for consciousness to interact with the physical world. Think of it like a radio. The radio doesn't create the music. It just picks up the signal and plays it. If your brain is damaged, your ability to process information might be affected, but consciousness itself still exists independently. This is where the idea of the soul comes in. Nalanda didn't see the soul as an eternal, unchanging entity like many traditional religions do. Instead, he viewed the soul as a structure of information, one that can change, be reprogrammed, expand, or diminish based on how you use your consciousness. When you live in ignorance, controlled by unconscious emotions and thoughts, you're not actively using your consciousness. You're just reacting to old programs in your subconscious. This keeps your soul from growing or reaching higher levels of awareness. But when you start understanding how your perception works, when you observe the world without your mind distorting it, when you let go of old definitions, you begin to expand your consciousness. And what happens when you do that? You realize you're not your thoughts, your fleeting emotions, or the identity society has placed on you. You see that everything you've believed about yourself, your life, and the world is just a story you've accepted as true. When you see through those illusions, a new state of awareness emerges. In this state, you're no longer bound by beliefs, controlled by your past, or anxious about the future. You simply perceive, purely, clearly, without the filters of your mind. What does this mean for you? It means reality isn't something fixed that you have to accept. The world isn't an unchangeable place with rigid rules. You can change how you experience the world by changing your perception. But you don't have to take my word for it. The only thing you need to do is test it for yourself. To sum up, consciousness isn't a product of the brain. It's an independent field of information that can expand or be limited depending on how you use it. The soul isn't a fixed entity. It's a system that can evolve or decline. Reality isn't a solid, material world. It's a flow of information that can be interpreted in countless ways. Most importantly, you're not stuck in any one way of thinking. If you're brave enough to let go of what you've always believed, you can see a completely different reality, a world you've never truly seen before. So, if consciousness isn't tied to the brain and reality is just a flow of information, what determines how you experience the world? It's not reality itself. It's how you perceive it. And if your mind creates a model of the world, is there a state of awareness that goes beyond those patterns of thought? A state where you can see things as they truly are, undistorted by biases and emotions. This is the essence of awakening, not a mystical concept, but a transformation in how you perceive reality. Awakening isn't a far-off destination or a special state for a chosen few. It's a process that can happen right now in your current awareness. It's not a mystical experience or a sudden enlightenment. It's a deep shift in how you see reality, yourself, and the world around you. The core of awakening isn't about chasing lofty knowledge. It's about recognizing the true nature of things. The reality you experience isn't a fixed world. It's a set of information you've been programmed to believe is real since birth. When you were born, you didn't have any concepts about yourself or the world. Everything you know was shaped by the information you absorbed from your environment. But because you're so used to this information, you mistake it for truth, creating a distorted reality shaped by biases, beliefs, and rigid thought patterns. Awakening, in Nalanda's view, isn't about learning more. It's about unlearning the layers of false perception you've built up over time. It's not about achieving something. It's about letting go of the illusions you've clung to. When you can see the world without being bound by preconceived ideas, you enter what Nalanda called pure perception. Pure perception isn't a new kind of knowledge. It's freedom from the constraints of your mind. Someone who isn't awakened interprets events based on their past experiences and biases. If they fail, they might think it's a sign of incompetence. If someone gets angry with them, they might assume that person hates them. But someone with pure perception just sees the event as it is, without attaching meaning to it. A failure is just a neutral event. Anger is just a temporary state. There's no fear, no defensiveness, no endless overthinking. In this state, you truly see the world and yourself clearly. But pure perception doesn't mean being cold or detached. An awakened person isn't disconnected from life. They're fully engaged in it. When they're not controlled by their mind, they experience everything more authentically. A flower isn't just a concept, it's a vibrant, living thing. A conversation isn't clouded by overanalysis, it's a real moment of connection. Life becomes clearer, sharper, because your mind isn't distorting reality with layers of interpretation and automatic reactions. Awakening also doesn't mean becoming separate from the world. On the contrary, when you reach this state, you feel a deeper connection to everything around you. You no longer see others through the lens of self versus other. You see their true nature. You don't react to life with old programming. You live with complete freedom in your awareness. And in doing so, you don't just change yourself. You impact those around you, not through words or teachings, but through your very presence. Awakening, in Nalanda's philosophy, isn't a transcendent state reserved for advanced practitioners. It's a natural process anyone can experience if they're willing to look at themselves, peel away the layers of illusion, and live with an unbound awareness. It's not something to chase, it's something to recognize, because it's already there, waiting for you to wake up and see it. At Stillmind Path, we believe knowledge only has value if it changes how you live, think, and interact with the world. No matter how complete a system is, if it stays theoretical, it can't free you from suffering or expand your awareness. Nalanda didn't create a system to be worshipped or memorized. He created it to be used. If you understand and apply it, you can break free from old thought patterns, change how you respond to life, rewire your perception, and create a new reality no longer limited by the barriers you've built. The most practical application of this system is helping you break free from the grip of your mind and emotions in daily life. Most people are caught in a cycle of negative thoughts and emotions without realizing they can choose how to respond. Invisible fears, societal pressures, personal expectations, these things trap you in an endless loop of reaction. You react out of habit, chasing fleeting emotions without truly being in control. But when you realize your thoughts and emotions aren't your true self, when you learn to observe them instead of letting them control you, you can step out of those unconscious cycles. When you're not ruled by your thoughts and emotions, anger doesn't pull you in, anxiety doesn't manipulate you, and you're not obsessed with things you can't control. Instead, you see everything with clarity and calm. And when you reach that state, your life changes in ways you never expected. But breaking free from the mind's control is just the start. One of the most powerful applications of this knowledge is helping you rewire your thinking to make better decisions. In today's world, people make choices based on factors that aren't really their own. They're influenced by family expectations, societal pressure, cultural biases, and pre-set standards. They follow what others think is right, without asking what truly aligns with them. But when you can see things without being swayed by external factors, you make decisions based on clarity and inner intuition, not fear or pressure. You stop doing what you should do and start doing what brings real value and meaning. When you do that, your life stops being driven by things outside your control and becomes a path you actively create. Another application is in your relationships. Most conflicts in life come from misunderstandings, unconscious reactions, and unmet needs. When you're driven by ego, you don't truly listen to others. You're just waiting for your turn to speak. You don't really see others. You're just interpreting everything through your own lens. This creates invisible barriers that push people apart. But when you let go of those programmed thought patterns, you stop seeing others through the lens of ego. You can listen fully, understand without judging, and connect without trying to control or possess. When more people realize they're not bound by old thought patterns, when they see they can shape their reality by changing how they perceive the world, society changes too. Outdated systems, obsolete rules, and barriers to growth can be replaced with a new approach. A society where people live with awareness, not driven by fear or blind ambition, would be one built on understanding, not forced conditions. This isn't just a shift in thinking, it's a complete transformation in how you experience reality. When you start applying this knowledge, you don't just break free from old thought patterns, you open up a whole new space of awareness. But understanding isn't enough. It has to be practiced and tested in your daily life. So, how can you actually experience and apply pure perception in every moment? How do you go from knowing this to living it fully? Practicing pure perception doesn't mean stepping away from your current life or diving into deep meditation. It doesn't require a life of hardship or giving up your daily routines. Instead, this practice can happen right in the middle of your everyday life, in the most ordinary moments. The key isn't what you do, it's how you perceive what's happening. The first step is learning to observe without reacting. We're used to reacting instantly to everything around us. If someone says something hurtful, we react with anger. If we fail, we feel disappointed and discouraged. When something unwanted happens, we immediately resist or avoid it. But if you pause, if you just observe what's happening instead of reacting out of habit, you'll notice something. Every thought, every emotion is just a temporary signal in your mind. Nothing is permanent. Nothing has to define you. For example, if someone insults you, your natural reaction might be anger or hurt. But if you stop and observe, you'll see that their words don't have power over you unless you let them. If you don't cling to the feeling of being insulted, it passes like a breeze. But if you let your mind grab onto it, you'll get pulled into an endless spiral of emotions. Practicing pure perception is about learning to observe without getting swept away, so you can experience life clearly without your mind distorting it. The next step is cultivating inner stillness. The outside world is always noisy, with countless things pulling you into stress, anxiety, and fear. But the chaos isn't out there. It's in how you respond to it. You can be in a quiet room and still feel anxious with racing thoughts, while someone else can stand in a crowd and feel completely calm. The difference is in your ability to not be swayed by what's happening around you. A simple way to practice this is to take a short time each day to observe without judgment. When you're walking, just feel each step instead of thinking about your to-do list. When you're eating, just taste the food instead of letting your mind wander. When you're talking, just listen instead of planning what to say next. When you can live in the present moment without getting caught up in your mind's interpretations, you start to feel true stillness. In short, practicing pure perception isn't a technique, a doctrine, or something to chase. It's simply learning to see things as they are, without adding judgments, without being controlled by your mind. When you can do that, you'll find that the freedom, peace, and awakening you've been searching for have always been right in front of you. The Nalanda system isn't an abstract theory or a set of beliefs to follow blindly. It's a new way of seeing yourself, the universe, and reality. It doesn't oppose science, but it's not limited by today's science either. It's not a religion, but it doesn't shy away from the big questions religions have asked. The most important thing this system offers isn't a set of concepts to memorize. It's a practical method to shift your perception, expand your thinking, and break free from your own limits. But no matter how profound this knowledge is, it's just a door to possibility. Whether you step through is up to you. There's no one right path, no perfect system. Only your real-world experience can determine its value. So the real question isn't whether this philosophy is true. It's whether you're willing to test it for yourself. If you dare to experiment, if you dare to see things with fresh awareness, you might find that reality was never fixed. It's always been waiting for you to explore it. This is still Minpath's take on the Nalanda system, expanded and adapted through our unique lens. Thanks for joining us. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share to spread this knowledge. Wishing you and your family peace and happiness.